Thank you very much. I'd much rather be talking about the fun things I do in the world, like charity and serving the public, but today I'm forced to talk about the construction industry. And I can tell you in 2 words, I'll sum it all up for you. Holy crap. What a project we have ahead of us. I'm looking over here at Dan, and Dan's shaking his head up and down. I know he feels the same pain. I can tell you that, I've been in business for a long time, in the construction business, and people ask me, what do you do and how is it? I can tell you this, the one thing I don't do is I don't build buildings. And today I am so glad I don't build buildings. I do everything else. I do infrastructure, highways, driveways, and paving and grading and underground utilities. And I'm really glad that that's the piece of the construction industry that I do. Because the civil side, as they'll call it, or the infrastructure side, as they'll call it, serves everyone. It doesn't serve just a building or just a residential subdivision or commercial property. It serves the entire public. And that, thank God, is the saving grace that's keeping my company in business these days. It's been pretty tough, as all of you know. The construction industry has gone through a lot of change since about 2006. Our best year was 2007. And to give you an idea of the retractions since 2007, we were just looking at our March results, and we are down officially 60% from 2007 in gross revenue since 2007. That's not that long of a time. But it's, there are numerous reasons why that is true. Reason number 1 is probably the collapse of the housing market. As many of you know, some of you have witnessed and probably experienced that. That was a pretty devastating blow to the construction industry. In 2007, we were doing 80% private work, building subdivisions, building commercial properties, projects that were not funded by government dollars. Today, we are doing 80% public works and 20% private. So you can see what a huge shift that took. So about 20% of the work we do today is funded privately. The issue with private funding, and I won't pick on the bankers because there's a whole room full of them, but the issue with private funding is obviously that during that collapse, the rollback of banking and lending in general really took a big toll on the construction. There are a lot of projects that could be built and would be built if folks could borrow money. But rightfully so, I think the banks took the right approach. They went extremely conservative in the other direction and righted their ships and got all that in focus. And I think that we're about to see that change. I feel real comfortable that we're about to see a shift in that regard. But it's tough out there. The toughest part of the construction industry is obviously the people who work for us. We're very dedicated to our employees. People ask me all the time, have you had to lay people off? And I can pretty proudly say that for the most part, no. We've had to have some reductions. We've had to have some people share work a little bit. The field folks have not all been able to get 40 hours or like they used to get 50 or 60 hours a week. But, for the most part, everybody's working. We work very, very, very hard to try to continue the family that we've grown and keep everybody going. And, when you ask what can you do, what a community could do for a company like ours is always think local. We are in a global economy and we're in a regional economy when it comes to construction, but a community that thinks locally and takes care of their own, trust me, it makes a huge difference. I thank my lucky stars for 2 things where I live. I live in the most beautiful place in the world, but the 2 things we have here are the hospitality industry. Thank you very much, because you give back tremendously to this community. And the other is the agricultural industry, a multi-billion-dollar industry. And thank God we have them, because our little microeconomies in Monterey County and in the Salinas Valley keep us going. They certainly keep my company going. They make money, they spend money. They need roads, they need infrastructure, they need different things, and fortunately they spend it here locally. The construction industry in general, while it has retreated somewhat, it's still pretty solid. We're going to a real time of change, and I think the change that you're going to see is going to be leaner and meaner and more cost-effective construction companies.